This episode has been graciously sponsored by Moisie Baby. Moisie Baby is the first FDA-cleared home insemination kit on the market. And that says a lot because it is very hard to get FDA clearance. But there's a very good reason. Moisie Baby is an incredible kit that has everything that you've ever thought of. The shape of the syringe, the shape of the opening, the shape of the cup. You will hear more about it in this episode, but you really need to also go to mosiebaby.com to see how fantastic this kit is. It really gives you everything you need for the best process possible. The idea of using donor sperm can be so confusing. There are so few choices, but there's also a lot of choices. Do I use a donor from a sperm bank? Do I use a donor that I know? Do I find somebody on Facebook? Lots of things have been published that are a little bit scary and potentially dangerous. There's also a lot of misinformation in this field. And so it's really important to get good, solid information. And I really feel strongly about that. And today we're going to give it to you because you are going to meet Maureen Brown. She is the co-founder and CEO of Moisie Baby, and she is going to tell you about so many things that you need to know, from choosing your donor to using the right cup, to using the right ovulation kit, to making sure there's nothing wrong, to getting the right legal advice. You're going to hear a little bit about all of these subjects and be better informed than when you start. So listen to Maureen. She is a real expert, and she's going to share it all with us today. Welcome to Building Your Family. This is a podcast about donor conception and fertility treatment and surrogacy and all the ways the modern family is built. I'm your host. My name is Lisa Schumann. I'm a therapist, an author, a researcher, and the host of this podcast. And I am passionate about helping people find a better journey to parenthood that will make it so much easier for them. And today on this podcast, I have a special guest for you. Her name is Maureen Brown. And she is such a lovely human being. I am so delighted that she is here. And I'm also delighted that her business has exploded because not only does she deserve it because she's worked so hard to get there, but she's really, truly a person who's doing this from the heart. And you will see in this podcast how her story has evolved. So welcome, Maureen. I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me. I'm Maureen. I'm co-founder of Moisie Baby. Founded it with my husband. I am the CEO though, so we knew who the boss was in our family. We struggled to conceive. Our journey is like many people where, you find someone you love and you want to have a family with them. And you start that process and it doesn't go as expected. So we struggled to conceive for about 2.5 years with our first child. We were diagnosed with unexplained infertility, which means there's, nothing clinically that they can find wrong with us. There shouldn't be any problems, but yet here we are, unable to conceive, 0 for 30 attempts. So we found ourselves in a doctor's office and figuring out options, which are expensive and invasive and,
Yes.
Involve a third party in your family building, which is not ideal sometimes. But we were hopeful. During that time, we'd also heard about the turkey baster method from a lot of friends and people who had tried it. And we thought, well, why don't we try this method? And we went online and couldn't really find anything designed for that purpose. At the time, there was nothing but some hokey websites that didn't seem very legit explaining the process. And so we tried to find some syringes, tried to appropriate devices from around the house. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And, we saw that it was a great method for, getting from point A to point B, but it left a lot to be desired. A lot of the devices trapped some of the specimen you're working with, and some of it, wasted it in the transfer process. And most of them were not really ideal for my body and, transferring it to my, at or near my cervix. When that failed for us, we ended up creating and designing what would become Moisie, the first intravaginal insemination syringe.
Wow.
So we went from there and ended up in a doctor's office. It didn't exist at the time. And so our daughter, our first, is a syringe baby from a doctor's office from IUI, from intrauterine insemination. Our son, our second child, was conceived with Moisie Baby. We used our kit prior to
Wow.
launching in 2015 and conceived very quickly with Moisie. And we were super thrilled and knew that we had something that could help people. So here we are today. We've helped over 100,000 people inseminate at home, privately, comfortably, in a way that is right for them. It's been a real honor, honestly, a real joy to be able to do this and take kind of that inspiration from the bold, industrious people who had really, laid a path. There's urban legends about, desperate housewives and all sorts of other stuff out there about, how turkey baster method came about. But we know that there's been a lot of bold, industrious people in the LGBTQ community. And so I always want to pay homage to that, this is a method that we hope we can normalize in our
Mm.
process of building our company, and also a method that we believe is a viable path to family and should be a part of the protocol of care and what people have options for covered through health insurance, and also, recommended by providers in a way where it's done safe in an environment that's right for them.
So you started going through this and thought, I don't know what's wrong. The doctor says there's unexplained infertility, which many people get very frustrated with. But you saw that your tubes were fine and there was no reason why the sperm shouldn't get there. And so you thought that getting the sperm closer to your cervix made sense. How did you then leap to, well, we have to kind of create our own system here?
Really, what it came down to was frustration that there wasn't anything that we could do at home that was designed for this process,
Mm.
and actually was thoughtfully designed for my body. Because when you're inserting into your vagina, pardon me, we're going to use real terms here during this
Mhm.
conversation, inserting something into your vagina, right, can be awkward, and it can be confusing. And so when you're doing something that isn't the right size, it feels awkward. If it's too small,
Mm.
it feels awkward. If it's too wide, if it's too large, if it's too long, it feels awkward. So the Moisie syringe is the first thoughtfully designed syringe where the depth, the length, the opening, which is patented, it's a slit opening that creates a laminar flow, which is a gentler passage for the semen you're working with.
Hmm.
The penile opening is actually a slit opening. Mother Nature's pretty smart in design, and
Interesting.
we work to mimic, creates a wider, longer spray. So you're getting at or near the cervix in a way that, with home insemination, you're kind of a little blind. You're not operating
Yes.
with,
Shooting in
you
the
know,
dark.
yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit, operating on off of a feeling, and off of, and some people are very comfortable with their body and understand it. Other people aren't. So when you're designing for a large population, you want to make sure you're being thoughtful about how you're designing it. So that's why we have our handles the way they are, and
Mhm.
the depth for insertion is up to the handles, because the cervix actually is only a few inches back in the vagina. And so the length of our syringe is, anatomically designed.
Wow. That's so interesting. So you had to do a lot of research to figure this all out, it
Yeah,
sounds
I
like.
mean, it was something we were very passionate about, and we felt like there just had to be a way where we could do this better, in a way that would empower people
Mhm.
and allow them to have the intimacy and education needed, for this product to work at home. And so the foundation of our company is really built around that love that motivates people to bring someone into the world that we carry with us through these tough moments of family building,
Mhm.
and also to educate, because I, like so many people, were taught that you're going to get pregnant the minute you try, and,
Yes.
protect, protect, protect. And then it didn't happen that way. And I knew nothing about my cycle or ovulation or my health or reproductive organs or anything, but very, very basic knowledge around my period.
Yes.
That is at the core of what we've done, and what we've built is a system to help people not only find their path, and hopefully in a way that works for them, but also to provide them with information along that journey, and educate them. And that's part of our instructions, part of our,
Mm.
email flows that people will receive. And on our website as well, we have a support page that's filled with tons of information. And we love to help people along the way as well if they have questions.
That's wonderful. That's great. So I think it's just important just to kind of put out here, because I am all about people feeling informed and people feeling empowered. And it's so confusing. I mean, most of us don't remember our, 10th grade biology class and how this whole system works. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and how people can start to think about those things, because it is so appealing for people to be able to inseminate at home. A lot of lesbian couples would love to be able to just do this insemination at home with each other, or single women want to be able to have this process in the privacy of their own home, not to mention the fact that this is such an expensive process for so many people. And just purchasing sperm alone is expensive. And as we know, I'm not sure what else will come out in the media by the time this podcast is aired, but we certainly know we have, a new film about the dangers of people figuring out, well, I can't find the sperm donor that I
Mhm.
like, or I can't pay for the treatment. And so now I'm going to go on the internet and have sex with some person in, a gas station bathroom or whatever, and how dangerous that can be.
Yeah.
So I do think it's good just to kind of interject this idea of also, before we kind of get into how the process works, that it's so important just for everyone just to think about this in the safest way possible. So maybe, Maureen, you can share with everyone, what are the things, kind of these barriers that you think can prevent people from having a healthy process?
Yes. So this is really critical. When you are in a place where you have to be very thoughtful and plan, and I know people spend hours and hours and days and days and days of their life just planning down to the minute when they can ovulate and have the insemination and collect their sample from the donor, and just truly people are dedicated beyond belief. I wish people understood how much love is there when families are planning and building through
Yes.
alternative methods. So I just want people to know who are listening. I see you, I hear you. It is, an act of love, and one that I always want to make sure people are doing safely and with knowledge. So with that, there's a couple of things that we recommend. One, preconception. If you have the ability, you can do a sperm test at home. There's some basic ones. We'll have one on our website soon, but there's plenty out there. There's a lot of really good ones. We're going to select one for our website that's we believe in, but we understand people are different pay scales. So there are a number out there, and you can find something delivered to your home or delivered to your sperm donor's home to confirm. And this is important even if they've fathered other children.
Mm-hmm.
Just like women, things can change if they've developed new
Yes.
habits, if they've gained a bunch of weight, if they're drinking more or smoking more of any kind of substance, things
Yeah.
can change. So it's
Yeah.
it's important
Taking
to
hot
just
baths.
taking a hot bath. Yes, yes, steam saunas, all that kind of stuff. It's really important. Doesn't mean it's the end. You guys have a lot of options for if he has some issues there. Most of that stuff can be worked through in a quick time process of like 2 to 4 months. If it's a low intervention issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for everyone, that's the first thing, is just kind of evaluate what you can with the semen.
Yes.
The other is timing your ovulation, knowing when you're ovulating, knowing your body. I recommend doing more than just an app. Ovulation predictor kits, we sell them. Many people sell them. They're awesome and they're super helpful. If you can get a little bit more into it, checking your cervix, your own cervix. We have some videos on our website and our YouTube about this. It's great because it does two things. One, it helps you understand your cycle throughout, your 28, 30-day, 24, whatever cycle it is for you. You'll get to really understand where you are in that cycle. And then it also helps you understand your cervical mucus. So you'll want to check your cervix a minimum of 30 days to really understand it. You don't necessarily have to check it when you're on your period. Some people get really into it and they're not squeamish, but it's really up to you. You'll get firsthand knowledge, and then confirming it with an ovulation predictor kit, you really get a sense of, okay, now is an optimal time. And then the other part is STD testing. We definitely want to make sure that you're
Yes.
protected. Again, this is something where you will have to have these conversations with your sperm donor and confirm for your safety, for the health of your future child's safety. All of it needs to be thought through about what you're doing here and the intimacy involved. And That's one area that sometimes we want to make sure that people are thinking through, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. So we always bring it up. Another thing that is important is checking with a reproductive lawyer. There's so many different laws in every state, and they vary from state to state.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure you're protecting yourself, your
Yes.
future family, and the rights of the sperm donor, and that can vary from state to state. There's some great resources. I know, Lisa, you
Yes.
have resources, and we have some too as well. We can point you to if you have questions there. We're not able to give out legal advice. We are not lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
but this is something that we just want to make sure everyone's protecting themselves.
That's great advice. Yes, it's so important. We've talked about it in this podcast several times about the dangers of not having a legal contract with your donor if you have a known donor, because the sperm that you get from a sperm bank, that legal process has already been done, which people don't really realize. But if you have a known donor, somebody that you know, people feel very comfortable with this person and they think, oh, well, this person is going to be fine, it's all going to work out. But we know, 60% of marriages end in divorce. And this is for people who really want to spend their lives with someone. And so you can only imagine that it's possible that you can have disagreements with this person later and there could be legal battles over the children. And you just don't want that to happen. So it is in everyone's best interest to do that. And yes, I'm so glad that you brought up the point about all of these medical issues, STD testing, and also if someone's able to go to a doctor to make sure that everything else is working well, it's great. I'd like to also just add that, psychological screening is really helpful, or a consultation, because we can see if anybody has any underlying anxieties. Sometimes donors say that they feel comfortable going through it, but then there are underlying anxieties that they're really maybe not in touch with, or things that you need to work out in your contract that maybe you haven't thought about before. And it's always better to get that out in the beginning rather than having it come out down the line. So I'll just add 2 cents in there. But I think that this is all really helpful. And I know it's really a strong desire for a lot of people to do this as naturally as possible. And so there is an impulse to not go through all of these steps. But what we're both saying to you out there is, just a little bit of prep work can save you so much aggravation down the line. So we think it's really, really important. And how long do you suggest that someone goes through, cycle after cycle with a home insemination before they take the next step of saying, okay, now I need medical intervention?
So we recommend 3 to 6 cycles, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, we want to make sure that people do give it a little bit of time, especially, if this is your first cycle doing it, you'll want to understand that it could take a few cycles. And then as well, we want to make sure that people don't spend too much time doing home insemination without consulting a medical provider. So 3 to 6 cycles is the range, between consultation with medical providers and from understanding our community, and the, most likely time for them to conceive is usually within 3 to 6 cycles. So we see that being a great time frame for people to experiment with home insemination. After 6 cycles, you'll want to take a moment, evaluate, see if you have any issues or concerns or timing issues. It's a great time to check in with your medical provider. It's a great time to seek out further consultation on
Mm-hmm.
preclinical workups. You can evaluate with your doctor if you might want to check on fallopian tubes, if there's a blockage. There's a number of low intervention things that you can do. And even some in the Moisie community have done medicated cycles with the help of their provider, where they might be using an ovulation inducing medication. So I think, that there's a number of reasons, but ultimately the goal here is to get you pregnant. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't want you to spend too much time doing at home insemination if it's not right for you or if it's not working for you. So we want to make sure that you are on the path to pregnancy. And we understand that can take many different forms, and we want to get you there as fast as possible.
Okay, well, I hope everybody is taking that to heart. And I guess next I'd like to ask you about your cup. I was looking at the picture of it online and I thought that was so clever. I mean, and it seems like this cup allows for a more sufficient usage of the sperm.
When designing a cup, there's a couple of things that you think about. Obviously, the end user and also the transfer process. So, one thing that you want to take into consideration is that you want to be able to use the sample in a certain time frame. The sample can be used within 1 hour of collection with the Moisie Baby kit. More importantly, we know that if you have a larger cup, the sample can end up anywhere on the walls of that cup.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And there's time that you have to wait to get that sample to the bottom or in a position where you can transfer it to the syringe. So our cup has thoughtfully designed height on the walls. It's designed to be easy to grip. There's a circular rounded bottom. It's kind of designed to match the form of the Moisie syringe so that there's a seamless transfer from the cup to the syringe.
And I think people appreciate that because when you're purchasing sperm and it feels very expensive, you want to be able to really use all of it. And this way you don't really have to worry and getting
Yeah.
lost or missing it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And you know what? There's one more thing I should add too about people who are considering using a sperm bank. Sperm banks have vials frozen in two different ways typically, which is IUI and ICI. So ICI gives you 1 milliliter of fluid, and that is for home insemination traditionally. Sperm banks had a history of prioritizing for IUI, and the pandemic really turn that on its head.
Mm.
So when you're looking at a sperm bank's donor portfolio and you're thinking about doing home insemination, it's good to just check in and see what vials they have, if they have IUI only or ICI as well, or kind of what they have, because IUI vials have 0.5 milliliter of fluid, so it's a little bit of specimen that you're working with. And it's not impossible. It's not that we haven't seen it done. It's just, I want people to understand, when you're doing a transfer at home, it's a different experience. And, that's something that we encourage people to ask the sperm banks about as well, because we know that there's been such an increase in people wanting to do home insemination, and the sperm banks are responding by increasing the amount of vials they're freezing for home insemination.
Is it possible for them to use either type?
It is. It is possible to
Okay,
use either type at home. It's just a little bit easier to use the ICI vials because it comes with more fluid.
I see. That would be the ideal circumstance, but if they were really stuck on a particular donor that didn't have that available, they could still use it.
Absolutely. And this is another reason I bring it up, because we have seen people use like 2 vials in one insemination at home. We've seen people do, 2 vials in 12 hours. It's dependent on people's needs and their level of income as well, and their level of risk and their level of, anxiety and all sorts of other things that kind of work into the picture. So I just bring that up because I want people to understand how this works. We actually are going to be shooting a video soon on working with a frozen vial. We've done this before in the past, and we're
Oh,
doing an
great.
update to it. So that'll be coming out probably about a month. So, we want people to see what it looks like and how you do it at home, and getting the cryo tank to your house and all of that is very exciting. And also, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of overwhelming, and you see that big vial and it's a foreign object in your house. You're not used to that.
Yes.
So how you work with a cryo tank and put on gloves and transfer it is important for people to see.
Yeah, that's very important for people to see because the whole thing is, I'm sure, very nerve wracking once you start this process because it's all new. And so it's really helpful that you have videos online that kind of explain all of this.
Yeah, we have some great videos on TikTok too, if you want to check that out. And obviously all the other social media places too, but some really fun ones on TikTok.
That's great. You also explain the ovulation process and have an ovulation predictor kit. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So ovulation tracking is critical when doing home insemination. You'll want to do your home insemination kit during your ovulatory phase of your cycle. So, what that means is there's a beautiful kind of symphony of hormones that come and go throughout our cycle. And one of them is referred to as LH, luteinizing hormone. And this hormone starts to surge as your body is preparing to release an egg
Into
into the fallopian tubes. That is the ideal time for you to inseminate. You'll want to make sure that the sperm is in all the way up into the fallopian tubes to meet the egg when it's released. To do that, you'll want to catch it during LH surge. So that's really what people call ovulation. And you'll want to inseminate at the first sign of that LH surge, dependent on what you have available within, I would say, 24 to 36 hours later. You'll want to inseminate again. Our kit comes with 2 insemination attempts. You'll be able to do that easily with our kit. And then, that's the ideal time for you to understand when to plan with your donor. So if you're tracking this, you'll want to track it for about 3 months prior to your first insemination.
So again, this is really important to prepare ahead of time so you know how this works and you get comfortable with it and you kind of get in the rhythm of your own body. You see how it works because most of us don't pay attention to those things.
Yeah, we're taught to ignore our bodies as
Right.
a
Yes,
overall health policy in our country. So
it's
paying
true.
attention to this is really important.
So important. Well, that's all great information, Maureen. So could you tell us now a little bit about this new exciting news that's happened not so recently, but kind of recently for our world of home insemination, that you all became the first FDA cleared home insemination process?
Sure. So Moisie became the first FDA-cleared intravaginal insemination kit. So we created a new category with the FDA, and all home insemination devices are now required to be FDA cleared. So what that
Fantastic.
means, yeah, it's amazing. Since we started our company in 2015, we grew it slowly, organically, on our own for a period of time there, and the response has been incredible. But there's also been a number of kind of interesting copycats that have come on the market and are not really like-minded in the way we are with keeping safety at the forefront. Obviously something that we are passionate about, and so we went through this process. It really helped validate not only our syringe and kit does what it says it does, it's free from contamination. Just for anybody who's curious, we have a microbial cleansing step in our process. So we were already being very thoughtful about our kit and just making sure that we're helping people do this in the best way possible. But we also have done human sperm survival assay, looking at how long sperm survives, and all sorts of stuff with
Hmm.
our kit, along with the product and how long it can sit on the shelf, and just tons of stuff that goes into this, tons and tons of testing. And it's really to keep the public in a safe position. And that's what we're, here to do. So it's designed for safety and designed for comfort. And, we're able to validate that and have it cleared by the FDA, which is really exciting.
It's
And so
fantastic.
I just
It's
encourage you
amazing.
when looking at kits to ask if it's FDA cleared. It really shows a commitment from the company and also helps you understand that this kit has been thoughtfully designed for this process, and you know that you're going to get a quality kit.
Yeah, and that all of these, for those of you who don't know, it's quite a hurdle to get anything FDA cleared. I mean,
Yes.
usually it doesn't. It had some for many people. It takes decades. So it's really incredible that you've been able to do this, and that's so important for people to know that what they're using is safe and sanitary and efficient, and that they could really depend on something because this is something that they're trying to figure out at home and try and feel insecure about very often. So at least you know that this piece of the process has really been very well thought out. So, Maureen, as we wind down, do you have anything else you'd like to share with our viewers? This is such great information. I really appreciate you coming today.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing that I always want people to keep in mind is this is a process of love, and we have our kit that says on the inside of the box, made with love. And that is so true.
Mm,
So the motivation it takes to plan and track your ovulation and, meet your donor and select your family is huge. And I cannot say that enough. And so I really just want to remind people to give themselves a hug. They are doing the best they can with the tools they have. And, I hope they find their sweet little one soon. We are always here for you. You can always reach out. We love helping people.
So, Maureen, if you can give people your information and your social media information, that would be great.
Yeah, so you can find us at mosiebaby.com. You can email us at mosie@mosiebaby.com. You can follow along on TikTok at mosiebaby, MosieBaby. And same thing on Instagram, Facebook, we're on Pinterest. And, reach out. We're always happy to help you, always happy to support. If you sign up for our newsletter, you can get a discount and great information along the way. And we also have a ton of articles to help support you along the way on our website as well. So, check us out, mosiebaby.com. Let us know if you have any questions. And we're here for you. We're rooting for you, no matter your path. We truly want you to find the best path for you and your family.
That's beautiful. That's so nice. So I think all of you can see that I was right. This is a lovely person with a fantastic gift for our community. And I really urge you to go to her website and see what Moisie Baby is about and all of the things they have to offer. It's really very thoughtfully planned. And if this is something that you're considering, I really think that it's worthwhile checking out. So thank you so much for coming today. And please feel free to reach out to me at familybuilding.net anytime. I'm happy to help you as well. And I'll see you next time. Hi, it's Lisa Schumann. I hope that you enjoyed that video and I hope it helped you. And if it did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe because that's how we keep going. It's really important to us. And if you liked it, you might like this one.